Alrighty, good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome everyone here to the Board of Trustees of the Village of Fredonia workshop. To start off, we have Matt from Labella, who would like to address the board and give the board an update on progress. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm also here with my colleague Mike Coquit, senior planner at Labella virtually, who I think he's there.
That's not Mike.
Hey, Mike.
Hi, Mike.
Okay, so I want to give a little bit of background and then move on to updates over the past couple days, as well as describe this document that we produced related to a request from last week. So, big picture, everyone's aware Labella was engaged by the village to produce a preliminary engineering report looking at a set of tasks for completion of that deliverable by mid-November. Those tasks were both in the weeds and culminating in a high-level set of recommendations regarding the long-term future of the village's water system, whether, repair and maintain its own system, decommission it and go with another, water supply from elsewhere. What are the pros and cons of each? What are the costs involved? And what are the timelines involved? So that evaluation's ongoing. And we're in regular touch, a variety of Labella folks are in regular touch with Lewis and Scott and various folks advancing that daily. About a month ago, as you're also all likely aware, Natalie from the Department of Health is here. So there were some items that came up from the Department of Health that were highlighted as requiring immediate action. And those were generally split. There's a 30-day timeline associated with action on those items. And they were generally split into a few different categories and subsequently split into a couple different categories. Short-term items, intermediate-term items, and longer-term items. The village is advancing that entire list over the last month or so in close coordination with the Department of Health, and Labella is providing assistance on some of the items, and all of those are moving. We participated in a conference call middle of last week with the mayor, Trustee Esperson, Lewis, Natalie from the Department of Health, Trustee Twitchell. Okay, I didn't see the full list, and a couple folks from Labella. And a main question from the mayor toward the tail end of that meeting was that the village has begun the walk down this path toward the typical schedule of infrastructure improvement project for a water system like the village's, which is produce an engineering report, do the environmental compliance work, apply for a grant, hopefully win a grant, win one or more grants, and then embark on the construction phase of the project. For the water system, that typical path would likely involve construction beginning in 2025-ish, give or take. By the time all that is done, funding is awarded and a shovel is in the ground. So we're all aware of the urgency associated with some of these items, as highlighted by the recent coordination with the Department of Health. So the mayor's question during that meeting was that there are certain high-level items, significant water system components, and I'll list the three that the mayor highlighted, that are urgent and are believed to be needed regardless of what the city does long term. And those three items that the mayor highlighted were a second finished water storage tank for additional finished water storage, a second interconnect with Dunkirk, and replacement and or rehabilitation of some large water mains, which have proven problematic. And Mayor, you're welcome to elaborate on that specific one. So the mayor's question was, the village feels significant urgency to be able to move in the right direction on those three items, which, regardless of the village's upcoming decision about whether to maintain and rehabilitate its own treatment facility or go with water supply from elsewhere, those three items will be needed. So this table that we produced, and it's in the weeds, and I apologize that I don't have enough copies for everyone, outlines some funding considerations regarding proceeding with things faster than the typical route, which would involve, beginning construction in 2025 and then culminating with, certain systems going online in potentially 2026. So just to walk through this, if you look at this first set of columns here with the title Immediate Actions, there are 3 columns within that Immediate Actions section. And what each column is describing a different approach that has financial implications for pursuing various improvements. So the first column there is self-funding. So it's just, the village funds it by itself. So that's, whenever you choose to self-fund things and just proceed along your own path, that's always the option with the least strings attached, because there's no outside funding agency making you follow a certain set of requirements or rules. Obviously, that's often also the most costly option. But, even with self-funding, if you were to act, this month and say, we're going to self-fund the design and construction of a second water tank, there's still some things that the village would likely undertake, seeker, environmental review, SHPO, Historic Preservation Act review, all these are designated by the little X's in this column. The design phase, coordination with and approval by Department of Health, and then potentially a bond resolution and a municipal resolution to undertake this work and, full village support, obviously. In the immediate action category, if the village, with the options other than self-funding anything immediate, there are 2 types. These are the middle column and the rightmost column within this immediate action category. The difference between the 2 columns is that the middle column will preclude the village from receiving grant funds. The column on the right has additional requirements. You see a bunch of additional X's along in the rows in that column. Those X's are the funding agency requirements. So proceeding with short-term emergency, New York State EFC funding, and basically following their rules in the short term and proceeding according to their terms and conditions would make the village eligible to receive a grant at a later date and then get reimbursed for costs incurred in pursuing these short-term improvements.
Just real quick, a couple of years ago, previously, we did an emergency water line replacement using emergency funding. We were reimbursed after we bonded it with low interest rate with 0% financing from the state. Is that also part of the grant part that you're saying that we wouldn't be able to be eligible for in the center column? Would that also include 0% financing from the state?
So we spoke with, Mike, I'd love for you to chime in a minute here, but we spoke with EFC about their short-term financing, and they have said that if the village proceeds without, some of these rows that are highlighted with an X in the right column and not, such as architecture and engineer, public procurement, EFC terms and conditions, MWBE requirements, American Iron and Steel. If the village proceeds without those requirements, the village will retain eligibility for EFC base financing, which we think means a market rate loan. Mike, is that in alignment with your understanding on that?
Yes. I'm sorry, am I echoing? Is that just in my ears?
Just yours.
You're fine.
No, that's fine. I can deal with it. So that you'd be eligible for their low interest financing, just to use common terms. As far as the reimbursement or expanding out with a 0 interest, then you have to get into more technical requirements there. But really, I think the differentiation here is financing is going to be that middle column, and the far right column is going to be if you're proceeding with long-term loans or grants to reimburse for those. One other thing I just wanted to point out when you're looking at that far right column, besides the additional time, there will also be additional costs because there are conditions such as Davis-Bacon wages that are going to drive up the cost of the projects and bidding procurement, which also tends to drive up the cost. In theory, it should lower the cost with competitive bidding. We found generally it tends to drive it up a little bit because they assume that there is some type of external funding available to cushion the budget. So I just want to give those four warnings as well. Any grant generally drives up time and it drives up the funding cost overall.
Mike, is Davis-Bacon wages the same as prevailing wages, or are they separate?
Same thing.
Okay.
Well, so prevailing wages are New York State prevailing wages. Federal, Davis-Bacon's federal.
Okay.
So it's whichever's higher, federal or New York State.
Yeah, thank you, Matt. That's a good distinction there, but same effect is what I
Yeah,
meant to say
same-
on the
same impact.
outcome of the project.
Any other questions about the immediate actions column here? I think the other relevant one is the long-term column on the far right, but before we go there,
Yeah, I mean, looking at the three columns, I don't see the first one as being a self-funding. I don't see that happening. Do you have a feeling as to what the village would be better off served by to either go the second or the third route?
it's challenging for me to answer without knowing any, village finances and such. However,
Let's assume we don't have any.
I always lean toward trying to win as many grant dollars as I can for the municipalities we work with. And the impact here will be that it'll draw out the time frame. So preserving the ability to get reimbursed by, following their rules, so to speak, will, for example, make it take longer to build a second tank. The reason you spend that extra time is to get reimbursed on the back end. So if you want it fast, you have more financial burden. If you can wait a little bit and still go full speed at following their rules, but just follow them, take a little longer, but you'll get reimbursed.
And
So,
some of that's gonna be county recommendations as to how fast we have to move.
right. So it's really important to continue coordinating with Natalie and the Department of Health, because if the Department of Health comes down and says you need something within a certain time period, then certainly there's not much of a decision left.
Right.
Fortunately, in my experience, good coordination often leads to a little bit of flexibility and understanding, where we can take positive steps forward along a set timeline that DOH is understanding that is, maybe a little slower than the absolute fastest, but it preserves the opportunity to lower costs to the municipality.
And we can go from column to column depending on what the interconnect or depending on if they say we need a second water tower within 2 years or 4 years or interconnect within a year or whatever, we don't have to stay in one column.
Yes. So that's a perfect point. Overall, I guess I have two things to say on that. Do you see in these middle columns here, there's this kind of wordy cell here, and it says, immediately necessary to eliminate or substantially reduce an imminent hazard to the public health or welfare or to the environment. That is the hurdle to clear to make something eligible for emergency EFC financing. So if we were to propose, all right, EFC, the village is proposing to pay for a second tank using emergency financing for a set amount of money, please approve this application. We would have to justify why it's immediately necessary to eliminate or substantially reduce, that's the bar. So we would certainly, aid the village in making that argument, making as strong an argument as possible, if that's the path chosen, but that'd be the qualifier there. And regarding the long term, so switching to the far right, these three columns at the far right, that's the typical path of funding projects. Like described in kind of bullet points: PER, environmental compliance, funding applications, funding award, and then construction. The big advantage with that column is that you not only pursue the EFC grants, like the WIA grant, the BIL, all these, you pursue as many grants as possible. So if you have a $10 million project, maybe you can get 2 or 3 grants, to lower overall cost. So perfect to your point, Trustee Byrd, the way that we envision this is that we can leverage the opportunities in each of those columns depending on what the infrastructure we're talking about is. If something's really sincerely needed, short term, need to go for it in the short term, then making that argument that it should be eligible for EFC emergency financing seems like the path forward. And then for the items where existing conditions can stand for another 3-ish years, taking advantage of all the grant opportunities we can in shooting for construction 2025, 2026.
Yeah.
What's the difference between the EFC under the immediate action that could be taken, the EFC base DWS RF financing, no grant, and EFC short long-term financing? What's the DWSRF?
The DWSRF stands for Drinking Water State Revolving Fund. So that's the name of the loan program. So when Mike's describing the low interest loan funding from EFC, that's the acronym for it. And so the difference between those two cells there is that the one on the right that says EFC short / long-term financing, that's an application that would be tied into the application to get reimbursed by a WIA in a bipartisan infrastructure law grant in that rightmost column, whereas this one would just be the low interest loan. And because the village pursued that improvement faster, wouldn't be eligible for those grant funds on the back end.
So just to make it perfectly clear to at least me, those 3 items that we talked about Wednesday that the mayor brought up, those are considered immediate action, correct? We're talking about the water tower and the immediate interconnect and looking at some of the infrastructure, right? So that's something that would fall definitely under the left-hand category. And we wouldn't, okay, sorry.
So I would say it's the village's prerogative.
Right.
The only reason that I'm using the terms, short term, intermediate term, and long term is in reference to the DOH's order or mandate.
I mean, it seems like it's
And-
kind of their prerogative as far as where they're going to direct us and how we're going to, we're going to get directed, and then from that, where it sounds like we're going to have to figure out how to do it.
Well, and
So-
we're not here to, bankrupt or put a humongous financial burden on the village.
Right.
That is not our goal here. Our goal is to make sure that you have a long-term, safe supply of drinking water.
Right.
So whether we look at possibly building a tank quickly so that you've got a little cushion while you're working on the rest of the plant, or maybe you choose to build the interconnect to Dunkirk so that you can rely on them as a cushion while you're building the tank and fixing the rest of the infrastructure. We can certainly work on that. We can look at which project makes the most sense, both financially as well as for getting it constructed.
So you'll advise us basically on what you think is our best course of action. So,
Between your
between,
engineers and
yeah,
us.
yeah, with his reports and your knowledge.
And if I could just add quickly, I think to date, Department of Health's foremost concern and possibly part of the order related to finished water storage is to get the Webster Road tank back online. So that's priority number 1. Certainly,
So getting that done buys you some time to work on some of these things in a longer term manner instead of an emergency doing that.
So the Department of Health is working with our engineers to understand that there is a plan in place, and knowing so that where there wasn't, as you stated before, you didn't feel clear plan. But this is going to be more of a clear plan for the immediate and midterm and long, but understanding the finances of the village and the Department of Health willing to work with us in order to make that happen so that we are in a safe place with our water system. Is that a good way to put it?
Absolutely.
correct. Yeah, I agree with
I
that.
thank you both.
Good.
Did you have anything to add, Mike? Mike,
No, but any other questions on any grant specifics or financing?
Mike, I need to connect with you to call Mo Samundu sometime, so I'll give you a holler here either tomorrow sometime, if that's all right.
I'll be in Fredonia all day tomorrow,
Okay.
so be right around the corner.
Thanks.
Okay.
Is there any other questions?
No, I think it's a great direction we're heading.
And not to hone in on Mike's knowledge of funding, because it is certainly well beyond what I have, but just to be clear, and I think part of what was the confusion, is the state revolving loan fund has the option of both low interest and no interest or grant monies available. It's not necessarily an either or. You could put one project one direction, a different project the other direction.
And that's the idea I was thinking, because our last emergency project received 0% financing to take care of that low interest bonding that we had.
And certainly if you want to try to get something done under emergency funding, I'll do all I can to help make it look as bad as we can to see if we can get emergency funding.
We'll just send them the observer reports, that's the,
Oh, let's not.
well, she said it wants to look bad.
No, we don't want it to
The
look
documentation
bad.
is there, all I gotta
No.
do is give you a paper trail.
Well,
So if there's no further questions, thank you, Matt. Thank you, Michael, for being here tonight. I have a couple things to tie into that. I received some communication from SUNY Fredonia, the president, and what he relayed to me was they're seriously considering other connections possibly to have a redundant water source for their campus. I asked to set up a meeting with himself, Mr. President Colston, Mayor Rosas, myself, to sit down and let them know where we're at right now. We may be providing the same things that they are wishing to do, but if the study shows and this board decides to go the opposite route, there could be down the road the very real possibility of SUNY Fredonia connecting with another water source for redundant, continuous, safe water. So just to have that in the back of your heads, but I will be meeting with these two gentlemen here. Hopefully shortly, we're gonna arrange a meeting.
I didn't think that was possible because they're coming in our water district.
I'm not sure, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if they
They would
even
need our
are taking
permission.
that into it, but
There was in the contract, there's a stipulation that they could void it after a certain period of time, with enough notice.
They could void the contract. They can't void the ability
Right.
for the village to provide water within its borders, and no one else has that right to under home rule law. And that was a discussion under previous mayors. There was an absolute no-go for them to go to someone else, because we are the ultimate providers for everyone within our borders. We don't have to give permission for, we would have to give permission for somebody else to come into our borders. That is my understanding of how the law goes. And because I've been on this board for a long time, and that's what happened before. I would assert that would be the case again, that the university maintains its own infrastructure within, it's sort of like a private development. But they, in order to get the water to their private development, they contract with the village. They don't contract with the town or the city of Dunkirk. They contract with the village because they exist within our borders.
okay,
I
well,
hope that's a clear way to put it.
Right.
that's what I'm gonna try to convey to the college, that, you know, that
No matter
We-
where we buy our water from.
you will get it through us, and it will be either, depending on the study and what the board decides, through outside source or our own, but
Right.
that's
And we have to
coming
keep in
down the
mind
road.
that they have not signed the contract.
That doesn't, it really
doesn't
hasn't.
matter.
I'm
They're
just
still
saying.
built, they're still
They're
built, and
still in our water
they've been
district.
paying,
I
and,
no, I understand that.
signed or not.
I understand that. I understand that.
I
I'm
guess
just
my
saying that
point
the
was-
contract.
My point was that our customers are getting frustrated along with, we should be just as frustrated as our customers, and our customers are beyond frustrated. So this is the time for action. I forwarded the board here, right before the meeting, an email from the county health department. Natalie, you don't mind if I read this? Okay. Regarding the 2023 sanitary survey of the Fredonia public water system. And I guess before I even do that, I'd like to clarify some misinformation or disinformation out there that's been going around, that I somehow colluded with the county and brought them in to get us all these violations that we've had for 30 years, which is impossible for me to do. I did not bring the county down on the village to, blindside us. There's sanitary surveys and reviews every year from the county health department and the New York State Health Department. And the majority of the violations that we are taking care of right now have been for many years, if not decades old. So for those out there that are under the impression that I somehow brought this upon the village to gain some kind of notoriety or popularity, saying I fixed everything and I solved all the problems of the world, that's not true. I just want to start steering this boat in the right direction. I'll use the analogy of us being Titanic. If the Titanic just steered 1 degree one way or the other, they would not have hit the iceberg, and that's the direction I would like to go right now. So let me read the update from the health department. Dear Mayor Essick and board, the village is to be commended for the work that has been done to address violations noted in the most recent sanitary survey. The water operator and other village staff are obviously working hard to rectify the issues that can be addressed while awaiting the results of the current engineering study. This department recognizes that some of the deficiencies listed in this year's sanitary survey may never be addressed depending on the outcome of that study. However, we also recognize that the plant must continue to produce safe drinking water until either major repairs or upgrades are made to the plant, or the decision is made to decommission the plant and interconnections are built to one of the other suppliers in the area. In order to do so, an updated compliance timeline has been provided below. At this point, the village has addressed the items needed to avoid an administrative hearing in November. However, due to the fact that many of the remaining deficiencies have been cited for years and have been addressed in previous engineering studies, and recognizing that the current engineering study is to be submitted to the village by mid-November as part of the ongoing compliance plan, this department is requiring the village to notify us in writing by no later than December 29th, 2023, whether you will be pursuing connecting to an alternate source of water or engaging in repairing and upgrading the existing treatment plant and reservoir. Again, recognizing that the plant must continue to produce safe water regardless of future plans for repairs, upgrades, or alternative supply, the village must continue to work towards resolving the following deficiencies within the given time frames. Unblocking or replacing the valves on the sludge lines from the upflow clarifiers. We need to submit a plan or discuss options for addressing this deficiency with the department by no later than November 1st, 2023. While it is important to get the clarifiers back in operation as intended, we also recognize that it is important not to act hastily and create a situation that would affect the plant's ability to produce safe water. It is important that we continue to communicate throughout determining whether the problem is in the valves or a blockage in the piping and how best to resolve this deficiency. Restoring the Webster Road tank to normal operating condition, i.e. with the mixing and cathode protections, must be completed no later than May 1st, 2024. Louis, you could give us some updates to that, if you wouldn't mind, that if what we spoke of before the meeting, please, regarding the Webster Road tank.
There's someone coming to look at the mixers tomorrow, and well, we reached out to Corporal who does the cathodic protection, and they'll be summoning someone down to replace that as well and do a complete inspection of the tank.
So our thought was, at the meeting we had last Wednesday, was to get that tank up ASAP for fire protection and otherwise, regardless of whether the mixer was repaired or not. And that involves sanitizing the tank and filling that up. But if Lewis's thought was that if we can get that mixer repaired in a very timely manner, get it all done at one time and be done and have it working properly like the way it should be. So, thank you. Submit engineering plans to address the lack of adequate finished water storage by no later than June 30th, 2024. Provide a sampling tap at the point where water reaches CT must be done by no later than December 31st, 2023. Fencing and/or other security at the Webster Road tank must be completed as soon as weather permits. Replace the bentonite clay that is being used with an alternative treatment chemical, or build an appropriate handling room around the bentonite handling area by no later than December 31st, 2023. Restore or install the equipment that is necessary to notify operators if the chemical feed pumps have failed by no later than April 30th. Should it be 2024? Okay. If you choose to decommission a plant, these items must be submitted by January 31st, 2024 to ensure that the plant can continue to supply an adequate quantity and quality of water until necessary connections are made to alternate sources. Standard operating procedures for the plant. Inspection and maintenance program. Asset management plan focusing on the elements that will continue to be part of the system. If the village opts to continue to use its reservoir and treatment plant, the following deficiencies must be addressed in the given time frames. Ensure adequate capacity of the reservoir. Provide calculations to prove that the reservoir can currently supply adequate water supply during a 50-year drought or extreme drought of record, or show that steps are being taken to increase that capacity by no later than June 1st, 2024. Address deficiencies identified in the most recent DEC dam inspection, or show that significant progress is being made to address them no later than December 31st, 2024. Submit engineering plans to address the lack of backflow prevention on the backwash water lines and finished water lines by no later than June 30th, 2024. Improve security around the plant by no later than June 30th, 2024. It is assumed that the following items will be addressed as part of the upgrade of the treatment plant: color coding of pipes, adequate metering of raw, finished, and backwashed water, stabilization of the stream bank adjacent to the upflow clarifiers and clear well, standard operating procedures manual for the entire plant, including upgrades. This department looks forward to continuing to work with the village to ensure that its customers continue to have safe and adequate supply of water. I am personally available to help with addressing any questions or concerns that you have as you work to come into compliance. Sincerely, Natalie Whiteman. So we do have time frames of many different things that need to be done, regardless of which way we go. So now's the time to act, and when we get that report, we need to act on that.
Spoke with Lewis today about the fencing. He said that there is maybe an alternative for that fencing, he spoke with the department. Is that correct? Yes, are you choking on what I'm saying? Are you?
If it's no different than our meeting, it was to, instead of around the entire thing, to just address the items that were around the tank and go up to the tank, because there's a creek and it would not be able to be secured properly given a perimeter fencing for the
Right.
property.
So he found some alternatives with cameras and things.
Cameras for the plant, because there's not enough area to get a fence.
Right, for the plant, yeah.
For the plant, yes.
Right, for the plant itself, yeah. So, but there could be cost savings in that too for us, so.
So, just in short, I want to ensure the public that we are acting on these items. We're working with the county, our engineers, our department heads, our board, to make sure that we start this process going. Unfortunately, it's not my time frame. I would like to, say, give the okay for it right now and start tomorrow, but that's not the case. This is something that's gonna take a year or two to come to fruition on the items that are not emergency-related items, and we can expedite those moving forward, so. Thank you. We'll move on to resolutions. Feeding Fredonia Challenge. Is this the time where we need to take a picture?
I think we should do it right before the meeting starts.
Okay, we'll do it right before the meeting. Are there any questions or concerns with Feeding Fredonia Challenge? Number 2, Harvest Moon Festival and Tour 2023.
Well, it says a trolley to be used in there. Trolley's not really.
No, that's gotta come out.
Okay, so we'll scratch that
I
on,
talked to Larry, I said, well, we'll try to get it running, but I cannot make any promises. It's pretty tired.
well, in that case, we'll leave it in there, and if it's usable, it'll be used, and if it's not, so be it.
Okay.
Environmental Protection Fund. Comments or questions?
I know we discussed this during the last meeting, but I asked for some detailed information about it, and I haven't received any. Wanted to know what the amount that they're up to, that they're looking at up to $3,500 for the engineer, for the grant writer to spend, with no detail on the amount of, the possibility of what we could be getting for that, and is it just a possibility? What items are we specifically looking for? What are the cost of those items? Have we gotten any cost projections from any companies on this? There's no detail, so I'm gonna ask for this to be tabled.
Okay, in the meantime, Michael, you're still on. Would you be able to enlighten the board a little more on this Environmental Protection Fund grant process here?
Absolutely. So Trustee Bird, all great questions we don't have answers to yet. Tomorrow, my plan is to meet with Frankie and travel around to the different parks, look at the current amenities, including any historically significant structures that may be eligible for repair, or in case of other amenities, replacement or building costs, and then prepare what could be a competitive grant application. The 3,500 is the full, so evaluating everything and then applying. It sounds like the board or yourself or the whole group might be more comfortable. Would make sense to just approve a smaller amount now to explore opportunities for the recreation facilities in Fredonia before we proceed with planning out for a full application. But that's just to give an idea of what an application to that funding source generally costs. And it's generally not dependent on the cost of what you're applying for. It's the same amount of work if you're applying for $20,000 or $200,000. It's the process of going through that application. So
And
hope
understand
that's some info. Any other direct questions, I'm happy to take and answer as best I can.
We had looked at using it for the repair and security of the fountains was the main thing we were talking about.
And that's the number one category, is protecting historically significant structures on park property. And there are priority points given to structures that are in need of repair and continually vandalized, which sounds like definitely is the circumstance that unfortunately the village is facing with those amenities.
But it is, and then I just wondered if we're gonna spend more for the application process than we are if we were just to upfront pay for it out of that department's fund balance. But also, if we're spending money for grant writing, I think that there's some very important issues that we're dealing with that we'd like to have spend money for grants right now. And I realize this is important, but I think there's more important things right now and we have in our budget for grant writing about $20,000 budgeted, and we're approaching about $10,000 already used for grant writing, and I think that we should table this at this point in time. And we're only partway into the year in order to I think secure the funding for these very significant projects, even though I know that, we want to protect our fountains and things, but I'd like to table it for those reasons.
Would it be better to table it or just vote on it, and if you don't want it, to vote it down and move forward?
You know what, I'd be willing to table it for a week, maybe after Michael has a chance to tour and see what kind of items out there in our parks would be available. Then we'd know, we have a better idea, maybe we get a list of what's grant available.
Michael, what's the timeline on that was fairly recent though, wasn't it?
I mean, we're still spending money
No, that's-
for them to do that.
Well,
That's part of the CFA process, so we do have some time on that. However, I will tell you, if you try and wait until the CFA opens, which is over the summer, and then try and put together an application, you're too late, because it takes time to evaluate everything, get estimates. Everybody's busy in that summertime, so it's difficult to get estimates on repairs or those kinds of things. So this is the ideal time to start. I understand the village is under unique circumstances right now, but here at LaBelle Associates, just in Western New York, we have 6 different grant managers. So we do have the bandwidth to help. I know you're trying to fit within a budget, but it's not like we're pulling resources from one division to help this. It's that we're able to provide that holistic view. So just wanted to calm that. I do understand there's a budget piece, but it's not like we're pulling any resources away from water or other infrastructure to invest time in recreation. It's just we're on the same cycle, so we're trying to do everything we can to help the village in the timeframe we have.
But it would be okay to table it for one more meeting? It would be okay to table it for one meeting?
The only question I would have is, do you want me to come out tomorrow and look at the recreation facilities? Because there's still a cost to that out of the budget. It wouldn't be obviously 3,500,
Well,
but
that's the thing, is we keep incurring costs on things and that comes out of that fund. And
Correct.
and like I said, I have big concerns of where we need to apply our money right now. And I prefer to apply it to the.
What are the costs for you to come out tomorrow? What are the costs for you to
Oh, it
show
would
up in the
be-
village tomorrow?
I'm coming either way. There's some other things going on, so it'll be just another 2 hours.
I mean, there's been a significant amount of money put into our parks in the most recent years. And as we all know, that there's certain parts of our village that have been neglected for over years. And I'd like those to be addressed with this funding.
I don't think we definitely have to put money towards water, but we can't let other stuff fall down just because.
Well, there's not
We're
much.
focused on water.
There's only so much money to go around.
Yeah, but we're talking 2 hours of the guy's time to do a comprehensive study of what we could possibly get in a grant. Is that not worth it if he tells us we can get $40,000 for a 2-hour drive around? I mean, it's
Well,
kind of.
Let me put this in perspective. Last administration got a grant to do the parks. It was not figured out, calculated correctly to repair the fountains. Those were hundreds of thousands of dollars, and those were not figured out in that grant process. That was the whole basis, a majority of the basis of that park grant that was got to repair the parks, was to repair these fountains that are, not level and in disrepair and in need of, different things to make them more efficient. So,
I mean, it's not just.
it's important, 4 years ago or 5 years ago, but now it's not important, so.
It's not just the fountains though. It's also the vandalism that's going on in different places and security of, the different facilities that we have up, around, because every week something's getting smashed or broken in one different park. Part of this grant is security on those things as well. I mean, to not spend 2 hours of his time.
Can we not do more security with
Well,
that
why don't we-
$3,500 out of, is there money in that department's budget, left over from, in this year, to provide right out of the budget?
Why don't we table it for 2 weeks and then decide if we want
Well,
to
but
come down for
he's-
2 hours tomorrow?
Well, because he's coming down tomorrow
Right.
now, so
Right.
then it's a drive down 2 hours and drive back, then it's 4 hours. He's already here tomorrow.
Yep, I know. So if he comes here tomorrow, he can give us a list of what may be grant available by the next meeting. So we would be paying for his 2 hours tomorrow.
Well,
That's what I'm saying.
if we, that's what I'm saying,
Right.
we should allow him to go around
Right.
and look at the stuff, but they're
Agreed.
saying no.
Agreed. I think he should.
I think it's wise to have him look at everything while he's here tomorrow.
Trustee Twitchell, what's your thoughts?
Well, I really I get it, you want to fix the fountains.
You wanted to
And
fix the
I-
fountains last meeting when I brought it up.
I do.
So-
Let me finish. But I see it as we already did receive grant money to fix the parks. And Michael, is that possible for them to give us more money? Because if they see that we already received money to fix the parks, how soon after that can we ask for more money?
It depends on if it's a different park and location. It depends on what the funding source was the
Okay.
last time. Do we know if that was an EPF grant or was that a different funding source?
I'm
I
not
apologize, I
familiar
don't
with
know.
that. Well, it would be the same park. I know that for the fountains.
There was a historic,
Smart growth,
It was,
I'm sorry,
smart growth grant, right?
smart growth, and there was two different
There
grants
was a
though.
placemaking and a smart growth.
But the Barker Commons itself had two different, there was a smaller grant and a large grant. That was total $400-some-thousand total. And the smart growth grant was part of the $2.5 million DRI grant that was 1.6 went to the Opera House, 1.4 went to the streetscape. So those are two different ones, but I don't recall what, I'd have to look at my notes and things from that past.
To me, it's foolish to have the guy down here and not pay him for 2 additional hours instead of having him come back at a different time and pay him for 4 or 5 hours. I mean, that's,
or wait till next year, apply again next year.
it's not next year though, it's 2 years from now at that point. And every year the fountains are $4,000, $5,000, $6,000, $10,000 in repairs every single year. So you're gonna save, what's your hourly rate? $100, $150, $200? You're gonna save $400 to,
No, I think my hourly rate's 115.
okay, so 115, so we're gonna save $230 and risk the chance of losing out on $7,000 in fountain repairs and security damage and
But my
whatnot.
question still hasn't been answered.
Your
about
question was
We did receive
mute.
money for the grant
No, no,
to
we
fix.
didn't.
And
We didn't, because if
Not
they
for
did,
the, not for the fountains.
not for the fountains, not for
parks.
security in the parks.
Michael just said, if it's for the parks,
It's,
and where are the fountains?
That's
They're
not
in
what
the
he
park.
said.
That's not what he
There are a
said.
lot of different grants. You couldn't go back to the same grant, but there's more than one possibility of grants.
and we're talking about
And
more
my
than one
question
park.
was,
We're talking about more than one park.
if we could receive more money, if it was for a park that has already obtained money, grant money.
It's a different project, so yes. We're not banned from ever receiving money again because they did one project in a park. We're not banned from receiving if they give us money to
I'd
fix a
rather have
water
Michael
treatment plant, they're
answer
not
the
banning
question.
from giving us money for the interconnect.
Excuse me, trustee Bird, but I'd rather have Michael answer
Michael,
the
would you
question.
answer that question? We had
Certainly.
we had a grant for the park last year. Can we get another grant from a different source to do another project in the park?
As long as that grant was not the same funding source and
Thank you.
same project at the same site. So this would be focused, at least on preliminarily just having a conversation with Frankie, that our visits would be really focused on those fountains and security, decreasing vandalism in the park. And what other things besides fountains, right? But if you didn't use those funds for those fountains, then yes, be eligible again. But I'd like to see the application and see what the award and the final payouts were, which could be a good part of my visit, pull off a little soon and see what records we have, so that I can make sure, you don't want to double dip. Not only is that not allowed, but it also puts kind of a mark on your reputation with that funding agency. But I would have a hard time believing that if the fountains are still in an area of disrepair, they were funded before. It sounds like they weren't funded. It was just a park grant in general.
They were not, they were pulled out of the project because when the proper estimates came in to repair them, there were hundreds of thousands of dollars each. And the grant for the entire project was only $400,000, so it would have eaten up that $400,000 plus, so they were pulled out of that. So they were not funded by any, no repairs were done to the fountains, and you can double check with the
Not by the
paperwork.
grant, but
Not by the grant.
but we repaired the.
Yeah, but
the
not
park-
by
the
grant
fountains are
funding.
That was
not-
out of our own pocket.
Not by
Right,
grant
well, but they're
funded.
not in disrepair anymore.
And
It's
she
just a matter of
just said last
protection.
meeting there was 2 broken things that needed to be fixed on them, so
There's
that's
still
not.
2 broken arms.
Yeah,
Well,
and we're
I'm
also
talking
talking about security. We're also
And-
talking about security of the
But
parks.
that happened when the cherub was stolen.
Okay.
It doesn't matter
so-
when it happened, it's worth
So the question
$230 to
before
have
us
them look
is,
at
are
it.
we gonna pay Michael $230 to come down tomorrow and do a comprehensive study, comprehensive look around the village to see what we may need grant money for to repair or protect?
Use it this year or next year, or next time, I don't know.
My opinion is yes, because we're wasting a hell of a lot more money than $230.
I agree.
So would that change the resolution then, not to exceed?
Well, we can table the resolution
We
and
can
still
table
let
the
him look at the, and still let him look at everything.
Table
After
that.
he's done his inspection.
But you're still gonna, you can't have something done without appropriating the funds to do that.
Well, it's already appropriated.
Yeah.
It's already appropriated.
It's in the
for that.
budget.
It's in the budget.
Okay.
So we should table that for the next meeting.
Table it, but
Okay.
allow him to do his talk and walk around with Frankie.
I'd like to be included in on that.
No?
When are you coming down?
When are you
tomorrow,
coming,
Mike?
Michael?
Tomorrow.
We're meeting at 3 o'clock, is that right?
I don't know.
He's at
He's asking
Yes.
Frankie.
Hi, everybody. Yes.
3 o'clock?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you,
We
Frankie.
can meet right at the Village Hall.
Okay, thank you.
Meet them there. Sure.
Thank you for the clarification and the explanation on that, Michael. Appreciate it. Move
No
on.
problem.
1891 Opera House lease amendment. Any more comments or questions? Number 5, abstracts. Any comments or questions on the abstracts? Village Hall pipe blockage. Well, I can't remember, Ann, if it was last weekend.
I don't remember the weekend, but
That
it's
might have
the
been last
third time
weekend.
in about 7 months that this has been
Yeah,
blocked.
the Opera House had production going and all the bathrooms were backing up, the toilets were backing up, the floor drains were backing up.
I mean, they
Did-
get it
did you-
fixed.
Did you call, you had called,
Gugino comes and
Gugino's?
fixes it, but there has to be an issue with the pipes coming to the building. So that's what I was gonna, that's
Any
why
thoughts,
it's on
Scott,
here.
on that?
I mean, maybe use the place, the sewer line going out.
Going out to the main?
It goes under the building for a while though, so it's gonna be tricky, it's not gonna be an easy fix.
All right.
Yeah. It's in the basement floor.
Is that something that we could get estimates on prices to get that work completed to replace the,
Is it possible to do that? I know they do a thing where they blow up a tube through the line and we don't know if it's,
What kind of condition it's in, if you gotta televise it first, and,
yeah.
you know, there's some stuff.
So we need to have it scoped out first more than anything.
Yeah.
all right. Well, thank you for starting to look into that process. Is there any other new business?
There is another resolution, Mayor. It's,
Oh, that walk-on? Yes, I'm
yes,
sorry.
the walk-on.
Yep, thank you. So the new walk-on resolution to be resolved that request to close Candaway Street from West Main to the west lot for the Fredonia Fire Department open house October 7th from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. Any comments, any questions on that? Thank you for reminding me on that one. Move on to old business, clock in the park.
Yes.
As a,
Have we heard anything, Scott?
Called them, I emailed them, we paid for their yearly maintenance agreement.
We did pay that?
Yeah, well, we paid it 10
Okay.
months ago.
Okay.
So they said they
Okay.
could be 3 months out, they could be 6 months out. And that was
Wow.
2 months ago I talked to them, so.
so it's just to reset the clock to the
I
right,
tried resetting it. I turned the power off and turned it back on, and it's still 5 minutes off. That's
It's about 10 minutes off right now.
10 minutes?
Yeah, it's about 10 minutes, so.
Yeah.
so clearly they have some major
It's
issues
got-
in there.
Yeah, I mean, it's got a computer in it. I don't know that much about it. I just tried to.
And what is the reason for taking so long?
I don't know. We're out of Southern Ohio. I don't know.
If we're paying
Right.
for
Well,
this.
well, we have to see what the stipulations of the contract are. Do we have a contract with them? Do you know, Alyssa?
Yes, I'll pull that up tomorrow.
Pull it out
Okay.
and see
We'll
if
take a
there's
look
any
at that.
time
Yeah, it's a
frames
yearly
that they,
maintenance agreement, and when I called them, they said Months out we are. That was 2 months ago.
When was the last time they were here looking at the clock?
A year ago. Well, probably a year and a half ago now.
Okay.
Okay, we'll continue
Okay, thank
to
you.
be diligent on that. Any other old business?
We talked about the HVAC preventive service. We were trying to get another quote for, I believe it was Gugino's. We weren't happy with the one that we did have. Did we get that quote from them? Do you know?
Who's it currently with?
Wasn't Danforth, was it?
HVAC makes me want to say.
It wasn't trained.
Okay.
Was it Danforth?
That sound, yes.
Yeah.
So apparently no.
We didn't like the pricing that much, so we were gonna look for other options.
All right.
Any other old business? Okay, we'll hear from our department officers. Scott, anything from the DPW?
Yes, Center Street, the drainage project, the problem over there for the Russo building. I think we found the problem. It's an old collapsed clay tile. I plan on digging it up Wednesday. The road's gonna be closed for a few days. It's a big project, it's deeper, it's 9 foot deep, so I have to have a contractor come in, set a shield. It's gonna turn into a little bit of a job, but it's gotta get done. So hopefully Wednesday we'll start that. And
You know, homecoming is Friday.
what's that?
You know, homecoming is Friday.
Is it? Yeah. So hopefully it'll be done by Friday. I mean, either way, it'll be secured.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
So
Thank you, Scott, for
hopefully that,
looking into that.
you know, fixes the problem for Russo.
Thank you.
Chief Myers from the fire department, anything, sir?
We have our first solar eclipse planning meeting this Wednesday at 10 o'clock at the firehouse. I think all the stakeholders are invited and attending. We have our open house this Saturday, 1 to 4, with a promotion ceremony of Captain Aldridge around 2 o'clock. I invite everyone who would like to come for that. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Yep, that's something I could have read here because you sent me the invitation, so any of the rest of the board, Saturday, October 7th at 2 PM during the open house. Chief Price from the police department.
Recently, our department has investigated an incident and concluded an investigation here in Fredonia. The board was made aware of these incidents and as well as the paper. I think the reason I highlight them today is because it was with great risk and reward, both incidents. The members of our department did a really good job, but it isn't without the support and cooperation of the area agencies that allowed us to conclude those investigations without anybody getting seriously injured or killed. And I just want to recognize like the City of Dunkirk Police and the Sheriff's Office and University Police Department. They've always got our back when things happen.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's just one more thing to make our village a little bit more safer. Appreciate that. Frankie with Recreation Department.
Hi, can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Nothing except the Halloween parade and trunk or treat deadline application is October 20th. We have like 2 or 3 more spots in the Halloween parade left, and the trunk or treat is first come, like first park. So that's really exciting. There's multiple spots for that. And then also the park attendant extension for pay for the last reservation, if that could be extended to October 12th, I think.
So that will have to be a resolution for next
We
meeting.
have to walk on because our next meeting's the 16th. I don't know how to pronounce her, how do you spell her last name, Frankie?
Sedlicek,
Can you spell it?
Sedlicek?
Yeah. Can you spell it?
Sedlacek. Sorry, Sedaleck.
Okay,
Did you get that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
thanks.
Frankie, are there any more spots open in the trunk or treat, or is it all full?
There are, yeah.
Okay.
Right.
We have a handful, so, we're gonna do like first come, first park. So there, we can also go down to the lower pavilion parking lot if it's too full.
What's the process of registering?
There's an online link and then there's also a hard copy. And basically the online is like a Google form. You fill it out and I get it sent right to my email.
Okay.
Or there's a link in your office. You can come right to your office.
Yeah. Yep.
Hey Frankie, for the 300 or 400 pickleball players that play pickleball after dark, is there a way to turn the timers on? So that, I think now they're going on at 7:30, which is, we know that's too late. So is there a way to get them to come on at 5:45 or so?
I'm not sure about the timers of the lights. I've never done it. If Scott can show me how to do it or if
Okay.
someone knows how to, I would be happy to.
Great, that would be greatly
I
appreciated.
just need to know how to do it.
Okay. 'Cause are they on two separate timers? Because one comes on 15 minutes before the other one.
I changed them both, so.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess someone told me they came out like 7:30 or something.
So you want them to come on at 6.
Well,
Yeah.
whatever time it gets dark.
Yeah. But if you set them at 6 now, you won't have to change it in 2 weeks when it gets dark earlier. You won't have to keep changing it until we close.
That
it.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Are those lights too difficult to put photo eyes on them? Or don't we want?
The timers work, they usually work pretty good, it's just, you just set it to what's on.
Yeah.
It's one of the dial things.
Yeah.
I'll go up tomorrow night and see if they come on.
The extension for the pay period or the employment would take a resolution of the board, correct, in order to make, she can't continue working and, because it was supposed to end
It was through September,
through September, and
Yes.
she wants to extend it further.
till October 12th.
Till October
yeah.
12th. But
There's a reservation at the park, so she'll need her then.
So, I mean, that's, I mean.
For this
and-
week
but
and
it's-
next week.
But it's, you know, the request came in beyond the date, and I don't know if that's a possibility to keep that person, because you can't have them work without being approved to work, and they can't get paid without being approved to work, because you're adding to the budget.
Are there funds in the budget to cover another
Yes.
2 weeks?
Yes.
So she has funds in her budget,
Yes, she
budget
does.
for that.
She did check with me.
Is there, I don't know if we could do it retroactively in any way. I don't know, that's not typical, no. But you're asking for it now, and she's gonna, she can't be working without the ability for this board to have agreed to extend her.
Why don't we start the extension tomorrow then? If we can't retroactively do it, it can start tomorrow. Correct?
Yes, because her last day would have been September 30th anyway.
Okay, so we're talking 2 days.
Yeah.
So we can start it tomorrow.
Yeah.
Can we just put it then 2 days past so she doesn't lose money for the 2 days that she worked this week or whatever?
It'd be 1 day.
Well, it goes bi-weekly.
Okay, so,
She gets paid weekly.
okay, so, all right, that's fine then.
Is there a resolution?
It'll just be 1 day.
You can't,
Yeah. Oh.
but you're asking to still do it, you can't just do it.
No, we'll still need a resolution.
She has a resolution, a due to walk on.
I don't know what's the date, I don't know how to put the date now, it's already October.
Put it for October 3rd,
October 12th, 2023. Effective October 3rd until
It's okay if She has the funds, I don't care.
Okay.
Of course she did.
Listen,
If she could do
I'm
it.
sorry, you cut out. Are you talking to me? Is anybody talking to me?
no,
Not yet.
not yet.
We're talking about you.
Okay.
It's different.
You're cutting out, so can't really hear.
I think that was the purpose of cutting in and out.
Okay.
We're drawing up a resolution for you.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Anything else, Frankie?
No, I'm all good. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Frankie.
All right, Sean from the wastewater treatment plant, what do you got for us?
Yes, sir. Not much to report, you know, the demolition that started it, the construction project. We have a construction meeting on Wednesday to find out, you know, what our next steps are. But the demolition has started, so that's good news, and I'm hoping we can get that pump done before the wet weather starts in this area, which is soon.
Good, thank you. Louis, anything else that we didn't cover before from water treatment plant?
The chlorinator's installed up and running beautifully, and they pulled out that second backwash pump today to start repairs.
Good, thank you. Progress.
Lots of progress.
Before we start the meeting, this would be the correct time possibly to take a picture with the folks from
Presbyterian Church.
the Presbyterian Church for
Yep, they're on the hall, so should we?
They are.
Feed Fredonia.
Very, very patient.
Her name's Holly.
Holly,
Here's that count.
where do you want to do the photo?
In front of the, if all you could stand together with the mayor in front of the tables. Can we use your phone? Because mine is not good with pictures. I have to send this to the. Actually, do you want?
Come right over there. Yep.
She's respectful.
Yeah.
You get it before or after I sucked in my stomach?
Who will know the difference, Dave?
I think I got it. You're doing the trunk or treat with us. You're doing the trunk or treat with us. Yes.
We're just gonna take a,
No.
we're gonna be
that's
taking a
corrected.
couple minutes here
We
before we start the
are
meeting.
signed up already.
Be right on the meeting.
So start buying candy, because we go through a lot.
All right. Folks, can you take your conversation that way, please? We're trying to start the meeting. Thank you. I call this meeting to order on Monday, October 2nd, 2023 at 7:45 PM. We'll have a roll call to trustees. Trustee Linden.
Here.
Trustee Twitchell.
Here.
Trustee Byrd.
Here.
Trustee Syracuse. Trustee Esperson. Here. Let the roll call show that 4 out of 5 trustees were here. Trustee Syracuse was absent. Could we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we'll have approval of the minutes, please.
Whereas members of this board have read the official minutes of the Board of Trustees regular meeting of September 18th, 2023, and now therefore be it resolved that the board hereby approves the minutes as entered into the official minutes, and be it further resolved that the reading of the minutes be dispensed with.
Second.
A motion and a second. Trustee Linden.
Aye.
Trustee Twitchell.
Aye.
Trustee Byrd.
Aye.
Trustee Esperson. Aye. Carried.
This portion of the meeting is for public comment. Any member of the public wishing to speak, once recognized, shall stand at the microphone and state their name and address. Speakers will be allowed 3 minutes if speaking for themselves, or 5 minutes if speaking on behalf of a group. I will ask the speakers to refrain from remarks that are in poor taste, slanderous, or not germane to any action taken or contemplated by the board.
Is there anybody that'd like to address the board? Please stand to the podium. Is there anyone here that would like to address the board? Please stand to the podium. Is there anyone here that would like to address the board? Please stand to the podium. Is there any correspondence that needs to be read?
There's one letter I received, yes.
Okay, I also have some.
Okay. Dear Board and Mayor, on October 8th at 12 noon, we are hosting our annual Memory Walk to Remember. This is for the Cope Foundation 19. Due to a high chance of rain, we're asking if we can use the gazebo at approximately 1 p.m. for a half an hour to have refreshments for all the walkers. If you or anyone you know would like to join us, it would be a sincere honor and pleasure to have you. Thank you, William Madison, as Executive Director. That's all I have.
Okay, I have 2 letters here. Dear Mayor Essick, the purpose of this letter is to articulate my support to use the WCA building in Fredonia to house legal farm workers from AA vineyards. For decades and oftentimes unnoticed, the agricultural face of Chautauqua County has been supported by a consistent workforce from Mexico and neighboring countries. Providing housing such as the WCA building in Fredonia is Fredonia's opportunity to thank agricultural workers from other countries for allowing Chautauqua to maintain status as a unique and important agricultural county. Legal temporary farm workers in Chautauqua County or the United States are not a new phenomenon. As the seasonal and agricultural labor demands have grown over the years, temporary farm workers have met those demands. The H-2A visa and similar programs date back to at least the 1940s in this country. I have known Mr. Rack to be a caring and cooperative leader to temporary farm workers, and I support his efforts to secure housing at the WC building in Fredonia. Dr. Kate Mahoney, 60 Lambert Avenue. I will reiterate again, it's a zoning issue. That property was not zoned for this purpose, and it is going through that process. Second letter is from Richard St. George, 16 Ryan Place, Fredonia. Subject, prior notice of dangerous situation. Village Mayor, Board, and DPW Superintendent. I am alerting you all to a very dangerous situation regarding dammed up drainage on Ryan Place in the Village of Fredonia. I have included with this notification several photos of the blocked drainage that I am reporting on. The problem in question is an important piece of drainage for the entire east and west portions of Ryan Place, Nance Terrace, and southern portion of the Ryan Place upstream properties. This drainage, which is entirely plugged by massive plants, trees, drains the natural drainage coming from the south of Ryan Place, where National Grid has an extremely large retention pond that drains into this drainage ditch, drainage ditch, but also 2 retention ponds on the east and west side of this drainage ditch, which drains the east and west sides of Ryan Place. In its current conditions, this drainage issue is causing the backup of water that flows into this ditch from all directions. The backup of water creates a dangerous flooding situation to the homes surrounding the drainage in questions, but also other homes in the area that have downspouts and other property basement drainage hooked directly into the Ryan Place drainage system. This letter is to formally request the immediate clean out of this dangerous situation that has caused damage to individuals' properties in the past. It also causes flooding further to the west portion of Ryan Place. The intent of this letter is also, most importantly, to officially put the village on notice that the situation exists so as to be protected from severe property damage due to flooding caused by this drainage deficiency. Any problems and damage created from the situation subsequent to this letter will be the responsibility of the Village of Fredonia per New York State Village law. I'm respectfully requesting an immediate clean out of this blockage before the rainy winter weather so as to allow the flow of drainage water from the above-mentioned areas to its intended path to Candaway Creek. Your prompt attention to this matter is greatly appreciated. Sincerely yours, Richard St. George. I will forward this to Scott to make sure that it gets taken place. And that is all that I have as far as public portion correspondence. I will now close the public portion and we will move on to correspondence.
Correspondence dated September 7th, 2023 was received from the Reverend Holly Clark Porter requesting village endorsement for the annual Feeding Fredonia Challenge and Festival.
Be resolved that the village board hereby endorses Fredonia Presbyterian Church's Feeding Fredonia Challenge and Festival to be held this year from October 16th through October 28th, 2023, with the festival taking place at the Fredonia Presbyterian Church, 219 Central Avenue, Fredonia, New York, from 1 to 4 p.m., October 28th, 2023.
Second.
It's been a motion and a second. Trustee Linden.
Aye.
Trustee Twitchell.
Aye.
Trustee Byrd.
Aye.
Trustee Esperson.
Aye.
Carried.
Correspondence dated September 6th, 2023 was received from Amanda and Christopher Shep, event co-chairs for Festivals Fredonia, requesting to hold the Harvest Moon Festival and Tours October 20th and 21st, 2023 in East and West Barker Common Park.
Be it resolved that the request of Festivals Fredonia to hold the Harvest Moon Festival and tours on Friday, October 20th and Saturday, October 21st, 2023 from 6 p.m. to 12 a.m. midnight in Barker Common East and West is hereby approved. And be it further resolved that the request to hold the first Harvest Moon Festival from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. on Saturday, October 21st, 2022 in Barker Common West is hereby approved, along with the following: bag parking meters around Barker Common, trolley pickup and unloading of passengers on Church Street between Temple Street and Park Place, if the trolley is available. Additional trash cans to be placed throughout Barker Common for the duration of the event. Decoration of the gazebo for Halloween on Saturday, October 8th through Sunday or Saturday, November 5th. The trolley tour is to begin at 7 p.m., again if available, from the gazebo north on Central to Temple to Central Avenue to Curtis, Curtis Place to Lambert, and into Forest Lawn Cemetery. Oh, these are the horse-drawn trolleys. The return route will travel from Lambert Ave to White Street to East Main Street, around West Barker Common and back to the gazebo. The Harvest Moon Festival will take place from 11 a.m. through 4 p.m. in Barker Commons West. Entertainment in the gazebo from 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. Costume and pumpkin carving, decorating contests, craft and food vendors, and trick-or-treating at downtown businesses in a collaborative effort with the Chamber of Commerce.
Second?
Been a motion and a second. Trustee Linden.
Aye.
Trustee Twitchell.
Aye.
Trustee Byrd.
Aye.
Trustee Esperson.
Aye.
Carried. I have one other correspondence here that I just received when I came in this evening. Dear Mayor Essick and Board of Trustees, Chautauqua Home Rehabilitation and Improvement Corporation, CREC, will be holding a 45th anniversary celebration on Wednesday, October 18th, 2023. This 45th anniversary year has been one of changes and transitions, but through it all, CREC's mission remains strong, promoting neighborhood stabilization, community revitalization, economic development through projects and partnerships that positively impact Chautauqua County and its residents. We welcome you to join us at the Dunkirk Lighthouse and Veterans Park Museum Pavilion, 1 Lighthouse Point Drive, Dunkirk, New York, at 12 noon on Wednesday, October 18th, 2023. There will be a buffet luncheon. We sincerely hope that you'll be able to attend and share your time with CRIC board members and staff community partners commemorating this milestone for our agency. So I have an invitation here, and you need to RSVP by October 10th to Christine Orog, the coordinator, and if anybody's interested, I'll make copies of this, so see me after the meeting. We'll move on to our reports. I just have a few items to report tonight since my last report. First, I have fielded several inquiries from the past meeting concerning whether or not the Village of Fredonia has a deputy mayor position in the village. We do not have a deputy position in this current administration. In my absence, the trustees decide who will conduct the meeting. Trustee Linden ran the past meeting because I could not attend. A nameplate was merely placed on the desk during that meeting that said deputy mayor. I want to clarify for all those who inquired in the past 2 weeks that we do not have a deputy mayor position currently. I hope this clarifies this topic for all. Moving on, last Saturday, I honored Dave Rowley and proclaimed September 29th as Dave Rowley Day in the Village of Fredonia. He just retired after a very long career in local radio as a news director. I respect Dave for his long tenure and his honest, accurate reporting of so many news items throughout the years. I wished him well and thanked him last Friday on his last day of work at the radio station. Congratulations on your retirement, Dave, and best wishes. The Fredonia Fire Department will be having an open house this Saturday starting at 1 p.m. Please join us for a number of demonstrations, tours, children's activities, and a whole lot more from 1 to 4 p.m. on Saturday at the fire station located at 80 West Main Street, Fredonia. I am pleased to share some good news concerning SUNY Fredonia. Fredonia State has again made the top 25 lists of the top public universities in the North. In the rankings, SUNY Fredonia was up from last year in a number of topics, which include best regional universities, best value universities in the North, and top performers on social mobility. In addition, 3 undergraduate programs have now been recognized as top programs, and they include the business, psychology, and computer science programs. Congratulations to SUNY Fredonia. What an honor for all the students, faculty, and staff, as well as our village. And that is all I have to report tonight. We'll move on. Trustee Linden.
Yes, Trustee Twitchell and I met with the Pomfret, Portland, Dunkirk Sewer District Committee today. Still going on with beginnings of negotiations for the contract, and with the financial numbers brought to our attention from our treasurer, Alyssa LeBeau, and to bring the contracts into a more reasonable contract from what we had before, so that they're actually covering the cost of the process of treating their sewage, and that the village would then realize a reasonable rate of return, so that the village would then be made whole on their costs and, like I said, realize a reasonable rate of return. Hopefully, this will continue going as smooth as it has. Thank you.
Looking at the analysis that our treasurer provided, a lot of different places that we provide the sewer to are under where we are treating it cost per 1,000 gallons. So those are some other things. Both village-wide, town, and SUNY Fredonia rates are all below what it cost the village to treat the sewers. So these are things that we're going to have to look at and adjust accordingly. I think in these contracts, when we need to adjust the rates accordingly, we can. So I think this board needs to look at all these different entities and the rates that they pay and adjust them accordingly.
And the treasurer has done a good job of addressing the questions with the volumes and costs associated, to be very clear and transparent, and they don't seem to be having any issues at this point with it. So,
Okay, trustee Twitchell.
No, I just want to compliment Erlissa on helping us with this report. It really does help when we're explaining things. We don't want them to think that we're trying to overcharge them. And I think once we do have them agree to the amount that we will be charging, we will be bringing this back to the board for discussion. Thank you.
You're welcome. Trustee Byrd.
Nothing today.
Awesome. Trustee Esperson.
Yeah, I attended the Festivals Fredonia meeting last week. It was great to see there are a lot of younger members of Festivals Fredonia. It seems that they're going through a period of transition, so new members, new blood, new volunteers are always welcome. I attended the executive board meeting at the fire hall with the firefighters. They discussed a building project for the front of the fire hall in front of the museum that they're planning. We toured the water treatment plant with members of the county health department last week, so she could visually inspect the deficiencies and the corrections that have been made and note what still needs to be done, and the long-term and the short-term timeframes. And you mentioned all those deficiencies tonight in the letter that she had written. So all those were covered. One of the major items that was not in the report was the erosion of the creek bank. It's now about 2 feet or so from the corner of the building. It's eroded probably about that far, and it's probably at least a 50-foot drop into the creek. So that's something that we're going to need to keep an eye on, especially should we decide, based on LaBella's report, whether we're going to repair the water treatment plant in the reservoir or purchase water somewhere else. I'd like to report that the visitor center is now finished. I want to thank all the volunteers that participated. It looks beautiful. They did a great job. And the repairs to the gazebo should be starting, hopefully, this month. Waiting for the contractor to have some free time. That's all I have.
Thank you. Alyssa, anything from the treasurer's office?
Just that Anne Marie and I attended NICOM a couple weeks ago and I learned a bunch of new information and information that will help us update our policies and procedures so that if we are ever audited by the comptroller's office, we won't have any major issues. There are a lot of things we need to update.
Good, thank you for attending that and being able to get that information to keep us in compliance. Ann, anything from the clerk's office?
No, not tonight.
All right, thank you. Any additional reports?
No.
All right, we'll buzz right through this then, huh? Yes, resolutions.
Be it resolved that Shannon Sudleck, Parks Attendant, will continue her employment with the Village of Fredonia effective October 3rd through October 12th, 2023.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Trustee Linden.
Aye.
Trustee Twitchell.
Aye.
Trustee Byrd.
Aye.
Trustee Esperson.
Aye.
Carried.
So go ahead and do that. So we can take it up.
Oh, okay. We're going to table the resolution for the $3,500 ability to research the grant until we get more information from the grant writer.
I'll second the motion to table it.
So there's been a motion and a second to table this grant from, for Labella to appropriate $3,500. Been a motion and a second. Trustee Linden.
Aye.
Trustee Twitchell.
Aye.
Trustee Byrd.
Aye.
Trustee Esperson.
Aye.
Carried.
Whereas the tenant of the Opera House, the 1891 Fredonia Opera House, Inc., has requested an amendment to the current lease to assist with procurement of grants and funding, and the village wishes to continue its relationship with the Opera House tenant, and whereas the board has reviewed a proposed amendment to lease agreement that provides for renewals of the lease that meets the needs of the tenant and maintains provisions desirable to the village, therefore be it resolved The mayor is hereby authorized and directed to execute the amendment to lease agreement between the village and the 1891 Opera House, Inc.
Second.
It's been a motion and a second. Trustee Linden.
Aye.
Trustee Twitchell.
Aye.
Trustee Byrd.
Aye.
Trustee Esperson.
Aye.
Carried.
Be it resolved that the regular and overtime payrolls of the various village departments and bills approved by the Finance Committee and set forth in abstract number 684 through 691 are hereby approved and directed paid and filed with the village clerk's office, 911 Church Street, Fredonia, New York.
Second.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Trustee Linden.
Aye.
Trustee Twitchell.
Aye.
Trustee Byrd.
Aye.
Trustee Esperson.
Aye.
Carried.
Be resolved that the request to close Candaway Street from West Main to the west lot for the Fredonia Fire Department open house on October 7th from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. is hereby approved.
Second?
There's been a motion and a second. Trustee Linden.
Aye.
Trustee Twitchell.
Aye.
Trustee Byrd.
Aye.
Trustee Esperson.
Aye.
Carried. Could I have somebody make a motion, please, to enter into executive session to discuss specific personnel in the police department?
Well, I guess we need to enter executive session to discuss personnel shortages in the police department.
Second?
Been a motion and a second to enter into executive session. Trustee Linden.
Aye.
Trustee Twitchell.
Aye.
Trustee Byrd.
Aye.
Trustee Esperson.
Aye.
Carried. The next Village of Fredonia workshop and board meeting will take place on Monday, October 16th, 2023 at 6:30 PM in the trustee room, second floor of Village Hall. Thank you, everyone, for attending. We'll see you next week.